What's up, everybody? Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. All kinds of surprising stories that I wasn't expecting to hear, but we got rumors about a GR Prius. We got rumors about a McLaren 750S, a new Genesis convertible, all kinds of interesting stuff here. So stay tuned for all that and more. But I also want to mention that I did cover the Mazda CX-70 already earlier this week in a dedicated video that not only gives you all the info on it, but also a full tour of the exterior and the interior. So definitely check out that video here at the end. It should be in this playlist and will play automatically after this video is over. I also want to mention that I am going to be doing a live stream here this Saturday at 12 p.m. Noon, Eastern time here. So it'll be the usual monthly live stream where I do a live Q&A and all the members will get priority answering. But it should be a really fun time. It's been about a month since I've done one. I'm excited to get back into it. So stay tuned and try and join for that if you can. But anyway, getting into all the news here this week. First off, Japanese website Best Car has an interesting report here claiming that Toyota is working on a GRMN version of the Prius. So not even just a regular GR. GRMN, for those that are unfamiliar, is like the more extreme, like track ready thing, which is a little more extreme. You'd think they'd do a GR version first. But anyway, I'm assuming a GR version would also come if they're doing a GRMN. But they claim that Toyota is actually planning on doing this. I'm guessing it's because of the strong response to the Prius in general, but they say that supposedly, according to this report, Toyota won't be able to get any more power out of the electric motors for some reason. So the way they plan to make it faster is by tuning up the engine. They didn't say what they'll do engine-wise, but the extra power will come from the engine, supposedly. They also say that it's going to be based on the Prime version, so it'll be a plug-in hybrid. And so I'm guessing it'd be great to see them just do the RAV4 Prime setup in the Prius. 300 horsepower. I just don't know if maybe they don't have enough space for, the battery pack for the Prime and also the rear motors and a gas tank back there. Maybe they just don't have quite enough space like they do in a RAV4. I'm not sure, but to me that's like the obvious, like just give it the RAV4 Prime stuff and you're set. But anyway, along with the extra power here, it'll get the usual GR improvements, including extra welds and a dedicated, unique production process like we saw with the GR Corolla and the GR Yaris. And also, in addition to that, it would have a sportier suspension and also sportier brakes and styling, all that kind of stuff. And so they claim it'll debut sometime in 2024. So sounds like something like that's either been planned all along or they're fast tracking it if it's going to be debuting as soon as next year. But again, take this one with a big grain of salt. But I do have to say that even whenever I did the Prius review and I had the debut videos even, a lot of people were like, oh, I'd love to see a GR version or some type of sportier variant beyond the Prime. I will be testing out the Prime in March and seeing how that, ups the ante over the regular Prius, which is already very good to drive. But, yeah, so I mean, a few years ago you would have said, a sportier Prius was a rumor. I would have laughed it off, but now it's not so far-fetched anymore. So I'm actually inclined to believe that there could be something here to this report, and maybe Toyota is also seeing those comments and that demand. We'll have to see, but anyway, very interesting to hear that. Another surprise here is that Automotive News is saying that they have an anonymous source with inside information that claims that a new McLaren 720S replacement will be called the 750S, and that it'll even be less evolutionary than the past rumors have suggested. So previously there was, a bunch of talk of basically a heavily reworked 720S that would have hybridization. We have seen also prototypes of 720Ss running around with like hybrid warning badges on them for the prototypes, suggesting that they're obviously running, hybrid batteries. So I still think that there is something hybridized with 720S components coming at some point. Maybe it's for a higher performing version of this next generation car or something. I don't know, but as far as this one here, the report claims that this new 750S will have the same platform, the same powertrain, just with a 30 horsepower bump to 4-liter twin-turbo V8, and the handling setup will be somewhere between the 720S and the 765 LT. Styling-wise, the report also says it'll pull some styling from the Artura while also resembling the 720S, which really sounds like this is, a little half-hearted. Again, they don't really need to do a ton because apparently McLaren said about their next car coming that it's already been sold out for a couple of years already. So I guess they didn't feel a ton of pressure to do something crazy new. And especially, again, since they're a little tight on money, if you can use, some existing parts or just use, mild changes, and that's enough to get people to, open their wallets for these things, then why bother doing anything crazier? So I mean, I can't blame them, but it just sounds like a decision that was made by accountants more so than, maybe the engineers. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, it says it's going to have new bumpers, bigger side air intakes, active aero in the back like the 765 LT. But just be very evolutionary. So it really seems like McLaren has taken a play out of the Ferrari playbook of, they had the 458, and then they turned it into the 488, and then they also turned it into the F8 Tributo, and it's like basically the same thing underneath, just with new styling and, a little bit faster for those engines and stuff. It worked for Ferrari, so I guess why can't it work for McLaren? So, I mean, I can't blame them once again, just I'm personally a little underwhelmed, just hearing this report. And so the other little thing that they mentioned is that the coupe and convertible will both be debuting at the same time, which also would be easier to do, considering if it's basically based on the 720S, you already have both versions ready. There's no extra engineering required really, so, I guess that's a little easier. So that'll be interesting. And also, I guess because it's not quite as heavy of a rework as we were expecting, it's going to be coming out a lot sooner than we were expecting. So they say the reveal is going to be happening this month, and production will start in September. Which, I mean, I didn't think there was a new McLaren on the way for another year or two. So it's like, ta-da, it's going to be here in a couple of weeks or maybe sooner. Who knows? I'm surprised that we haven't seen any like actual spy mules running around. I mean, at least nothing that has production bodywork. So, yeah, like I said, definitely a surprise there, but cool to see that, and I guess we'll be seeing a new McLaren in a couple of weeks. And for yet another surprise report here from Automotive News as well, they're claiming that the gorgeous Genesis X Convertible has been approved for production, and the chairman of the Genesis National Dealer Advisory Council claims that it was announced by the Genesis Chief Creative Officer to dealers at a dealer convention. And so I would assume if they're doing the convertible, they would also do the coupe and potentially the speedium shooting brake kind of coupe as well. But, I don't know. They're just mentioning the convertible here in this report so far. But anyway, so the dealer council chairman claimed, I don't know if it's going to be over 200,000 or 300,000, but I guarantee we're going to see a lot of Bentley Continental convertible trade-ins on that whenever it comes to our showrooms. So clearly he's the head of the Genesis dealers, so he's going to be biased. So I will kind of overlook his overconfidence about converting Bentley owners into a Genesis. Don't think he's going to have as many Bentley trade-ins as he's expecting. But anyway, yeah, that price tag, though, if that turns out to be true, would be quite a shock. But then again, Cadillac is seeming to do a similar thing with the Celestiq. Supposedly they're sold out for several years already, and people are eating up $300,000 Cadillacs. And so I think Genesis is seeing some potential here to do the same. Now, I think this is, going to be a little less advanced than the Celestiq without having Ultra Cruise and, we'll see. I mean, maybe the hand-built stuff, that Cadillac's doing is something that Genesis is just going to copy, and they'll do something as well. Because we did hear past rumors about Genesis starting a one-of-one program, to build one-offs or stuff that's extremely limited in number. So, but, this dealer is talking about this like this is a regular dealer thing, not just like some commissioned vehicle. So I don't know if it'd be a one-of-one, but it seems like, he's saying it's going to be sales volume will be extremely limited is what they're suggesting. But I guess dealers are also really excited about this. So that's why it makes me think it can't be that extremely limited because, I mean, I guess the dealer can get excited about selling one car and probably marking it up $100,000, but I don't know how they just say that dealers have been wanting a performance GT coupe from Genesis, but this doesn't really fit that. If this is just going to be like some, $300,000 convertible that they're going to sell, 30 of or something, then, I don't know if that's something Genesis dealers would actually be excited about. So this report seems a little conflicting to me. Interesting nonetheless. We'll, stay tuned and see what develops there. In some more potentially good sports car news here, Nissan has built a physical concept of the Max Out electric convertible that was previously just a digital concept last year. It's too bad it's not closer to a production model, but that could mean that either this is just a fun show car that they're building, just for auto shows and things like that, or, it also could suggest that they have put the effort into actually building a physical concept, so maybe they're actually a little bit serious about, some type of thing like this actually entering production, and, they're building it to gauge reaction as far as how people actually like it in person. I don't know, but it was just built for this, like, they're doing this little, like, Nissan convention talking about their green future and stuff. And so all Nissan is saying about the concept so far is that it displays Nissan's innovation to develop a diverse range of advanced and striking vehicles with a clear vision of how they can benefit both individuals and society. So, you could kind of take that one way and say that, oh, well, they want to build striking and exciting stuff. A sports car would be great for that. But it also could just be like, hey, look at what our designers can do. Like, they're going to, design some wild stuff, but it'll be on an SUV or something. I don't know. It could go either way. But still, cool to see the concept. And again, another thing, we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening there. One sports car that actually is in production, and thankfully sounds like it will be in production forever, is the Mazda Miata. So, in an interview with Autocar here, Mazda's European boss was asked about the next generation Miata, and he responded by saying, how do you stay true to the concept of what the car stands for, taking it into the next generation of technologies? That's not been decided, but I think for Mazda, it would be fair to say that the MX-5 will never die. So again, just very great to hear that they are so committed to the Miata that, they can't envision a future without it. And that's very good to hear. But clearly it's a long ways off for this next generation. If they haven't even decided what they want to do with it yet, it's an 8-year life cycle for the Miatas typically. So we were expecting a new one in 2025. But especially the way, a lot of these Japanese brands want to take their time with developing sports cars and stuff. And we're already in 2023. I don't think there's any way that we'll see something by 2025. I'd like to think that we could, but unless it's a heavily reworked ND with, not many changes, I don't see it happening by 2025, unfortunately. We'll have to see, but the Mazda executive also mentioned that the ND will continue to be updated. So that also further adds to that, case that, we'll probably maybe get a refresh next year and that'll last us for another couple of years. And maybe it's just going to be an ND3 or something. We'll have to see. But the Mazda executive also added that I think it will continue to exist forever and it will have to go with the times. That's a super challenge and people are passionate about this car in Mazda. Of course, as you can imagine, people have opinions on which direction it should go. So I'm very curious where it will end up, but it will definitely remain part of the lineup. So, obviously the rumors that we've heard about in the past suggest that it would probably stay mild hybrid for the NE or whatever the new generation will be called, and just probably maybe use the 48 volt thing that you have from the other Mazda products that are debuting here soon. And so there's a chance that it's just going to be that, and that'll be it. But anyway, so very interesting that at least we know it will stick around, and that's great considering I'm sure they don't sell a ton of them. I'm sure sales continue to become less and less every year, and I'm just glad they're continuing to keep it around no matter what. So awesome to hear that. We do also have some more info on other future Mazdas here, thanks to Mazda's North American CEO. So he spoke with Autoblog at the CX-90 event here this past week, and he first confirmed that the CX-70 will also be coming this year, but he didn't reveal any info about it really. I'm assuming it's going to be basically the CX-60 that's overseas, where it's like a 2-row version of the CX-90, but it'll be changed a little bit. But supposedly there's also mentions that it could be something a little different, and that this executive was even quoted as saying that he doesn't think it really fits in the same category as the CX-7 that they sold way back when. So there could be something interesting and different about the CX-70 as well. It might be a surprise. We'll have to see. But anyway, good to hear we don't have to wait too much longer for the CX-70 at least. And Autoblog also asked him about the rotary range extender version of the MX-30 that just debuted in Europe a couple of weeks ago. And he said that Europe and Japan will be prioritized for that vehicle, not only because they have production restraints on them as far as, they can only build so many. But he also said that the regular electric one is really popular in Europe. They've sold over 15,000 of them last year compared to just 600 here in the US. Admittedly, I think they only sell it in California here, so they've limited their market. But even if they sold it in all 50 states, I doubt they would sell more than a couple thousand tops. So clearly, this is, a much more, a vehicle set up better for Europe and Japan, where people actually buy vehicles based on what they need, not on what they want. People there are comfortable with 100-mile ranges for commuter vehicles because they never drive more than 100 miles a day. So that's just a mentality and a culture thing that I think, obviously it makes sense. And I think with a plug-in hybrid, range extender version here, that would be better suited for America, but, it's also still going to be pretty slow from, what we were talking about a few weeks ago when that debuted. Not gonna have a lot of power. It's still probably not gonna have a ton of range. So it's just one of those things that I think it's just still better suited for other countries. So I understand why they're not prioritizing us. They've been saying it still will come here at some point. So, I'm guessing we will get it eventually, but it's not going to be a lot of them when they do. And it could be, later on than we're expecting. But anyway, interesting to get that extra insight. Great of them to reveal that. We also have some official info about what's in the pipeline for Alfa Romeo, thanks to their head of Alfa Romeo North America here. So he revealed to journalists this week that eventually the plan is to have 5 models within the Alfa Romeo range, adding 1 to the C segment alongside the Tonale, and then having the Giulia and the Stelvio in their segments, plus 1 larger vehicle that'll compete with the BMW X5. And so he revealed a little bit about the other small vehicle that'll be sold alongside the Tonale in that C segment. He says it'll be a little more car-like, but he didn't elaborate on that. So whether that means they're just going to do a coupier version, or if they're going to do some type of like lifted hatchback, like a luxury Crosstrek or something like that. But if he says car-like, then I wouldn't bet on there actually just being a small car. And we know hatchbacks aren't very popular in the States either. So, I don't know how they're going to play that. That's interesting, honestly, to think they even think they have enough room for 2 vehicles in that segment. I think the Tonale probably covers it just fine, but that's their plan, and whatever that will be, that one's going to be electric, as will be the next-gen Giulia and Stelvio that are rumored to arrive around 2025. He also added that they're interested in sports cars, but was really vague, didn't confirm anything, even though a 6C has been rumored and was kind of teased with an Instagram post right at the end of 2022. We'll see if that's something that actually does make it to production or what. And then the last model to arrive, that X5 fighter, will supposedly come in 2027. And the executive didn't provide any new details on it, but Alfa Romeo's international CEO revealed to Automotive News Europe recently that it'll be a high-performance SUV that not only will offer variants ranging from 300 to 800 horsepower, just for the regular version, but also there will be a quadrifolio version doing around 1,000 horsepower. And those numbers sound really familiar if you remember all the power stages that there were for the electric Dodge Charger that's coming. And I'm pretty sure that one also started at, I think, 360 horsepower, something like that, but then it went up to like 800 some horsepower. And then, there was hints of something that's, more than that, probably 1,000 horsepower. So maybe, the Stellantis electric thing will be shared among all the brands. And so maybe this is going to get, basically that Dodge Charger electric, powertrain in this, big SUV, which would be awesome. And he also said it's going to be getting an 800 volt architecture, just like the Charger, and have recharge times of 18 minutes max. And, the context of that is important. I'm guessing he's talking about 10% to 80% charge in 18 minutes, because battery tech is not going to get to the point even by 2027, I don't think, for us to do a 0 to 100% charge in 18 minutes. But anyway, interesting to hear that, though, and sounds like some good stuff in the pipeline there, although it'd be nice to see another sedan, but I know they don't sell, so totally get, how they plan to do this here. Interesting to, hear all that. Land Rover this week has revealed a light refresh here for the 2024 Range Rover Velar. So on the outside, it gets new headlights, grille, tail lights, and rear bumper. Inside, it gets rid of almost all the buttons, putting all the climate controls now in a curved 11.4-inch touchscreen, which now gets a new version of the Pivi Pro software that incorporates sidebars with permanent controls for frequently used functions. The steering wheel also now has light-up buttons on it and a new design, and there's new leather and vegan upholstery options. Mechanically, it gets a new 8-speed automatic with the base engine that Land Rover claims is smoother than the old 8-speed automatic, and then the top 3-liter inline-6 turbo and mild hybrid combo remains unchanged, but the middle powertrain, which was a less powerful version of that 6-cylinder, that has been dropped. So it's now either one extreme or the other. You either get the slow one or the fast one, and there's not going to be any middle ground there. And so anyway, they're going to be available to order now, starting at $62,775. Mercedes has debuted a similarly mild refresh here for the GLE for the 2024 model year. So it gets new headlights, taillights, grille, and bumpers outside. And the inside, thankfully, hasn't ditched all of its buttons, so it only swaps the steering wheel for a new Mercedes design here. But otherwise, thankfully, that one has all the buttons still. But the bigger changes are under the hood good here. So first, there's a new GLE 400E plug-in hybrid version that uses the 2-liter turbo 4 combined with a 134 horsepower electric motor for 381 horsepower total, along with 479 pound-feet of torque. Unfortunately, Mercedes hasn't said how big the battery is or what the range is for it yet, which are the two most important things for plug-in hybrids usually. So I'm guessing this is further out and it'll maybe be later in the 2024 model year if they aren't willing to share those details yet. So we'll see about that. But other GLEs will also all be getting 48-volt mild hybrid setups now as well. And so on the base GLE 350, it doesn't improve horsepower, but on the GLE 450, it does add 13 more horsepower to 375 horsepower total now. And on the GLE 580, power goes up 27 horsepower to 510 now, and 538 pound-feet of torque. The GLE 53 keeps its same 429 horsepower, but the torque on that one gets bumped from 384 pound-feet to 413 pound-feet, which amazingly shaves 0.3 seconds off the 0 to 60 time now, which is impressive. So it now drops it down to a 4.9 seconds 0 to 60 for that one. Lastly, the GLE 63S has no mechanical changes, so that one carries over aside from, again, the tweaks to the exterior and interior. And there's also a few other minor changes to packaging here for the 2024 GLEs, like there's a new off-road engineering package that's available for the 580 version, and that gives you a skid plate and an extra 1.2 inches of ground clearance when you get the air suspension on that one. And so all these GLEs will be available sometime this year, but we don't have any kind of more concrete timing for that one, but interesting to see that. And some other Mercedes news here. We've been hearing for a while now that, Mercedes is going to be slimming down the lineup and cutting a bunch of models, and we could make intelligent guesses on what's getting cut. And, so there's some of the things we already know about, the A-Class and, stuff like that, getting cut. But now, according to Car and Driver, their new report here, they have some official info that they're reporting on. So they say out of the 33 different body styles that Mercedes amazingly makes between the US and Europe, which is crazy, 33 different body styles, that's getting slimmed down to just 14 once this transition is completed, which, by the way, is going to take all through the 2020s. We're not going to actually get down to 14 until like 2030, so it's a very gradual transition, nothing quick. Anyway, a senior member of Mercedes-Benz strategy team explained to Car and Driver that the most essential elements of sustainable contemporary luxury cars are space and time. That's our number one priority, not another fancy body style, a model that only works in Europe, or one last stab at a dying segment. And he also added that at the end of the day, we simply don't need estate cars or underperforming two-door offerings to boost volumes. At least they've kind of, come to terms with that, the fact that they can only cover so many niches before it just gets to be a little bit excessive. And so it is unfortunate, though, that some of the stuff that people really love is going away. So the C-Class and E-Class coupes will be the first to go either this year or next, which we already knew because, those are already the old generation vehicles. The new generations of those are coming here. C-Class already is here. E-Class, I think, is coming this year. As they bring in their new four-door versions, the coupes are going away and they'll be consolidated into a single CLE model that I believe should be coming fairly soon as well, sometime I think in the first half of this year. And then next up on the chopping block, though, is the CLS, which will get cut next year. And that's another one that, I don't think they sell very many of them, a lot of overlap with the other Mercedes models. And then after that, that'll be followed by the AMG GT 4-door in either 2024 or 2025, which we've been hearing rumors of that thing getting cut for years now. So seems like that's finally happening in 2024 or 2025. And like he mentioned, the wagons are going away too, sadly, including both the C-Class wagon that Europe gets as well as the E-Class wagon, but that one will be a while. So the C-Class wagon in Europe won't go away until at least 2028, so they are getting a new, wagon version here, the new C-Class, and that's going to live out its life cycle and then go away. But again, we still got 5 years on that one. Then the next gen E-Class that isn't even here yet, that will also get a brand new wagon, but then that will be the last, and that will go away in 2030. So, you don't have to hurry up and run out to your Mercedes dealer just yet. You got, all of the 2020s here to still enjoy brand new Mercedes wagon purchases if you want one, assuming they send them here to the States. But the coupe SUVs for Mercedes also will have a similar run through the 2020s, but not beyond it. I can't say I'm sad to see those go, but there was a talk that those were getting more and more popular and stuff, so I'm actually a little surprised they're cutting them, but I guess Mercedes is finally, listening to the voice of reason, saying, if you want an SUV, just get the regular SUV and have all the extra space there, and if you don't want it, then just go for a sedan or something, but So they say that the next gen GLE, though, I mean, we just saw the refresh here this week. The next gen of the GLE coming, in 2 years or something, that and the new gen GLC, which we just saw last year, they'll still both get new coupe versions. So again, a very gradual thing, and so then those will live out their lives, and for the next 5 years or so, and then by 2030, those will go away and they won't be replaced. So again, it doesn't seem like Mercedes is rushing into anything here. So while they want to cut stuff, clearly they're not in a hurry. And I think they're kind of sticking to their old ways a little bit too, because it's not all cuts here in this report. We also have some info about new stuff coming. There's going to be a new AMG GT Coupe later this year based on the new SL. Which again, it's like, okay, now we're back to overlap again, because obviously the AMG GT is more sporty than the SL, but the SL was made super sporty as well. So now we got a bunch of overlap again. You got a sporty SL and you have a GT coupe, which will basically just be an SL with a hardtop, I'm guessing. Maybe it's slightly different styling. I don't know. But so they're doing that. They're also saying they're going to do a new four-door coupe again. So they're killing off the CLS, being like, oh, we can't have all these extra cars. And then they're like, oh, but wait, we're going to have another one, but this one's going to be electric, as will this new AMG GT, So I guess they're killing off stuff, saying it's because of overlap, but then also they just are killing it off to make room for electric versions instead. Because, I guess they still will get down to 14 models or 14 body styles, but it just still seems like they got a lot of overlap here still. So we're going to do another four-door coupe. That, again, will be in addition to the EQE, the EQS, all those, sedans and stuff. And then they say that they're also going to have a next-generation SL after this one that will also be going electric. And then beyond that, they also say they're going to add a new electric SUV called the GLG. So they're actually going to increase the amount of SUVs that they offer. Yes, they're getting rid of the coupé ones eventually, but this, new GLG, is going to go on top of the EQE SUV, the EQS SUV, and the Maybach version of that. And then they're going to now have an electric G-Wagon coming as well. And then now you have the GLG as well. So, it still seems like they can't help themselves. They got to still, add a bunch of different models and have all this overlap. So still going to be the dizzying amount of models to choose from here with Mercedes, even into the 2030s. So again, kind of a change, but seems like it actually won't be much of a change, honestly. And then also there's going to be the new Mythos collector cars that are going to begin to roll out. And so some ideas that were mentioned in the Car and Driver report here are a new Gullwing reinterpretation, a new four-door G-Wagon truck, and then a speedster version of the SL. So sounds like Mercedes also is going to stay plenty busy here in the 2020s with all that new stuff. Plus, just keeping the current stuff updated and, new versions of all of those and everything. It's a lot. It's really a lot they still have going on here. So far from a simplified lineup, in my opinion. But anyway, interesting to hear that. Audi is also busy working on their own future cars here. So in a report from Autocar this week, the head of Audi's design department revealed that the next-gen A8 that's likely debuting this year will be very close to the Grand Sphere concept that debuted in 2021, which that's an interesting take for a full-size luxury sedan because it wasn't quite as boxy, not what you'd really expect from something in that segment. But he told Autocar that the Grand Sphere is a very concrete teaser. It's not far away from what will come to production. It's not one-to-one, but very close. So basically, there's your new A8. Surprising stuff there, and he also said it's going to be on the PPE platform, and the concept here, it did 710 horsepower and was powered by a big 120 kilowatt battery. And so after the new A8 is revealed, according to Top Gear magazine, the next high-end EV to come will be an RS6 version of the new A6 e-tron, which will be getting its production version, I believe, this year. So that'll also be on the PPE platform. But great that they'll be, quickly working on performance versions beyond just, the crazy 700 horsepower regular stuff. You're going to have these RS6s that who knows how much horsepower they'll have. But hopefully they will send that one here as well because it's been great having the RS6 Avant here in the States. And Toyota put out one final teaser here for the Grand Highlander before its debut at the Chicago Auto Show next week. And I will actually be at the Chicago Auto Show and I will be doing an actual video, a dedicated video covering the Grand Highlander. So definitely stay tuned and subscribe for that. But as you can see here from this final teaser, it looks like it will have a very spacious third row. I mean, that is really quite big. And even the CX-90 I just covered this week, I think this even looks a tiny bit bigger than that. So Toyota claims it will have ample legroom for adults as well as enough space to fit 7 pieces of luggage in the back. So, I mean, they're really extending this thing longer than I thought because, I mean, if you have that much extra space, the third row in the Highlander is not that spacious right now. So you have tons of extra space for legroom and enough cargo space for 7 pieces of luggage. That's impressive. Anyway, yeah, so stay tuned for the full tour on that next week, but interesting to get that last teaser there. And if you watch the past weekly updates, you may have seen me discussing how, Honda revealed that their new brand with Sony called Afeela is going to be cutting out dealers and just doing totally online sales. And I said how funny that was because just a few weeks prior, Honda dealers were quoted as, being like, oh, Honda loves us. They're not going to cut us out of the new brand. I'm sure they'll still want to use dealers and stuff. And then it came out like, nope, we're not using dealers most likely. They said it wasn't finalized, but that's what they're trying to do. These dealers are delusional and think that, the OEMs actually like them hurting sales with these markups and stuff. But anyway, so these quotes from these dealers also continue to age poorly because there's a new development here this week with more bad news for Acura dealers now as well. So in a press release this week, they revealed that the electric ZDX and ZDX Type S that go on sale next year will be sold exclusively online. So another bombshell there for those Acura dealers. I'm not sure how that one's going to get around the franchising laws if it is an actual Acura and it's not some spin-off thing. I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, other companies have been trying and, Ford's trying to separate their electric stuff and, putting dealers into a different agreement and stuff. So I don't know, but apparently Acura just wants to sell them direct online and that's it. So we'll see how that happens. They say they're going to be finalizing the details here still, and we'll discuss it with their dealer body, which I'm sure will be a fun discussion. So anyway, yeah, but I mean, that's got to be mind-blowing for these dealers that, again, think that Honda loves them, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we're cutting you out of the new brand. Oh, and by the way, even the existing brands, when they are going electric here, we're going to, start cutting that stuff out as well, and basically just, weaning these dealers essentially off of vehicles as they transition to electric, I'm assuming. So we'll see how that plays out, but doesn't seem like a great long-term future if you're a Honda or Acura dealer. But it's a tricky thing because obviously dealers do play a role, but all the price gouging this past year, I gotta say that some of this stuff is also kind of satisfying to hear. So we'll see what happens, but very interesting to hear that. Lastly, for some of you who were excited maybe whenever you saw Elon Musk recently talked about how the Tesla Cybertruck production would begin this year. Just like as you should already be approaching any Tesla news, don't get your hopes up, approach it with caution. During this week's earnings call here, Elon clarified that while production for the Cybertruck will begin sometime this summer, he also added that it'll be very slow and that mass production of the vehicle won't actually happen until 2024. So they'll get a few of them out here this year, but the actual, I don't know how many pre-orders they still have, waiting around, but all those probably hundreds of thousands of people are probably not going to get their cars till at least 2024 at the earliest. And of course, also don't expect it to still cost $40,000 or have the same configurations that it had, 4 years ago, I think, whenever it debuted and wowed everyone. Obviously, inflation has played a role in the past 4 years, but also we know the components costs, have gone up as well, and things change as they come to production and all that. And we also do know it's going to be shrunken down from the original show vehicle as well. I believe they said by about 10% or so, from what I remember. And so, anyway, it'll be interesting to see how all this, pans out with the Cybertruck, and at least hopefully we'll actually start to see some stuff, hitting the roads this year and into next year, and kind of that whole saga will finally be cleared up a little bit and be basically over. So anyway, lastly, I want to thank all of you who are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have 2 new members join this week, so I want to give a huge thank you and shout out here to Garrett Bentz and Azurin for becoming members here this week. So I really appreciate the support. Hope you guys are enjoying all the perks so far, and of course be sure to stay tuned for that live stream here on Saturday afternoon if you can make it, because members do get priority answering there in that live stream. And so for anyone else who would like to join and become a member, there was always join buttons here on the video page and on the channel page, as well as a link in the description. But anyway, that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. So thank you all very much for watching. Please also leave a like, comment, and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.